Boa tarde a todos. Antes de mais, muito obrigada pela vossa presença. Mais uma vez temos uma sessão à sexta, mas que não é à sexta, devido ao feriado. E como temos bastante mais audiência, se calhar a sexta não é o melhor dia para fazer estas conversas. Mas hoje temos um tema interessante como todos os outros, mas um tema que está muito, digamos, na atualidade, que é a questão da sustentabilidade ligada ao transporte aéreo. E, de facto, este ano ou nestes próximos meses em Portugal vai haver uma grande concentração relativamente ao transporte aéreo, porque em junho e julho vamos fazer aqui uma semana de transporte aéreo com a associação das várias universidades ligadas ao transporte aéreo e que vamos receber duas grandes conferências internacionais, a Mundial de Transporte Aéreo e também a Ibero-Americana de Transporte Aéreo. Portanto, vai ser de 28 de junho a 4 de julho, portanto, o local físico vai ser nas instalações do ISEC, na Alameda das Linhas de Torres, e esperamos ter cerca de 400 pessoas ao todo nestes eventos, que no essencial são as universidades de todo o mundo com estudos e investigação em transporte aéreo. Portanto, transporte aéreo é de facto, durante os próximos meses, vai ser um foco interessante em termos de discussão e de investigação. Hoje temos um trabalho que se relaciona com este projeto Tulips, que é um projeto europeu onde estamos envolvidos, a nossa equipa do técnico, que é liderado pelo aeroporto de Schiphol e que tem também a participação do aeroporto de Oslo, Lanarca e Turim. Temos neste projeto envolvidos 2 doutoramentos do nosso lado, portanto a Xibei, que vai apresentar, é um dos doutoramentos, é um duplo doutoramento entre o Técnico de Lisboa e a Universidade de Antuérpia, portanto entre uma escola de engenharia e uma escola de economia, e a Maria Santos, que está aqui, levanta o braço, que também vai fazer o doutoramento no âmbito deste projeto, também num tema interessante que iremos trazer aqui também, que vai ser o metabolismo dos aeroportos. E, portanto, ela ainda, digamos, não será já, mas talvez dentro de um mês, mais ou menos, um mês e meio, teremos essa apresentação com certeza. Portanto, sem mais demoras, so now I turn to English so that Xibei understands that I'm talking about her. And so Xibei is going to present her work, not only what she's doing within the framework of Tulips and the benchmark she did of several airports around the world, but also an add-on to the project that is related to her PhD, and that we will be listening the first outputs of this work. Xibei, please.
Yeah, thank you.
You can start.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Xibei, and I'm happy to join this Friday talk session on Monday. And in the next 1 hour, I will share with you a journey to airport sustainability regarding Tulips project, global benchmarks, and also future research directions. So a little bit about myself. Again, I'm Xibei, and I'm doing a PhD at Technical Lisboa and the University of Antwerp. I just started the 3rd year of my research, and Professor Rosario is my supervisor at both institutions. And I received a scholarship from the Commission project Tulips, which emphasized the innovation and sustainability in the context of airports. And my background is aeronautical engineering and transportation engineering. Here is an overview for today, and this presentation is composed by 3 parts. The first part is high-level actions, where I will take you to an overview on the high-level sustainability initiatives and actions around the world. And then in the context of Tulips, I will take you to a detailed look at what we've been doing at Technical for Tulips. And then we move to the high-level action to the industrial reality. I will share with you a benchmark analysis I've carried out for the world's 150 biggest airports. And ultimately, we move from industry to research to academia, where I will share you first a literature review I've done for the sustainability evaluation methodologies within airport sector and beyond airport sector. And then I will introduce you a new sustainability evaluation index with a case study on Schiphol Airport. And this presentation is guided by 3 papers of mine. The first one paper related to part 2, industrial reality. This paper was accepted but not published yet. And 2 papers relate to part 3, research focus. And these 2 papers are already available online. So if you find this presentation insightful, you can download and read the papers afterwards. So now let's start our journey from the first part, high-level actions. To start up, I want to bring your attention on the top aviation carbon dioxide emitters in the world before COVID-19. As shown in the slides, there are 3 major emitters in the world. The first one is United States, which accounts to 23% of the global carbon dioxide emission from commercial aviation. And for European Union, the figure is 19%, and for China, the figure is 13%. So altogether, these 3 regions contributed to over half of the global carbon dioxide emission from passenger aviation operation. Then we might ask, specific to airports, what actions have been carried out by these 3 regions to address the issue of sustainability? So first, let's take a look on the United States. There are now currently 3 sustainability programs from the Federal Aviation Administration. The first one is Noise Compatibility Program. And this program aims at us to build a structured approach to manage airport noise. And it emphasized the achievement of a balance between the operational needs of airports and also the quality of life of surrounding communities. And it encouraged the airports to take a proactive approach on the noise management. There are primarily 4 steps in this program. The first step is to draw the noise exposure map, and the second step is to develop corresponding noise compatibility program. And the third step is to get the involvement of local communities and also stakeholders. And the last step is to apply and receive the federal funding. And the second program is Voluntary Airport Low Emission Program. This program aims at improving the air quality and reducing ground emission, especially for the areas that are below the national ambient air quality standards. And this program has so far benefited over 100 airports across 56 airports. And the third program is the Airport Improvement Program. This program aims at developing comprehensive sustainability planning documents. And such documents include the Sustainability Master Plan and Airport Sustainability Plan. These plans help the airport to integrate sustainability into their daily operation and also long-range planning. And so far, this program has granted over 40 airports. Then let's take a look at the action of China. In 2022, China enacted its civil aviation green development policy and action. And this action have already been supplied to ICAO as well. And there are a series of initiatives and actions in this document. Here I only put some of the most outstanding ones. The first type of action is the application of new technology. Like one notable example is the airport noise management platform. As I showed in the left side of the slide, is an example from Tianjin Airport. You can see with this type of platform, the airport operator can have real-time monitoring and assessment regarding the airport's noise. And also, the results of this platform will be critical inputs for research in terms of noise mitigation and improvement in the later stage. And the second action is optimization of operation. And Tasks lead to this, including the construction of airport energy management system. And in the left side, I also got an example from Shenzhen Airport, and it's a smart energy control platform. And with this platform, the airport operators can have real-time monitoring and assessment on what type of energy and what amount of energy have been used by the airports. So same for research purpose in the later stage. And the third type of action is green building. As you may know, like in the latest 10 years, China have been developed lots of new airports, both in terms of hub airports and also in terms of regional airports. The hub airports was developed at megacities to enable the operation of dual airport system, like in Beijing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Chengdu. Well, for the regional airports, they are more carrying the social responsibility to connect the underdeveloped area and the mountainous area to the rest of the country. The last type of action is clean energy utilization, including the application of SAF and also solar energy system. In the context of European Union, there are now 3 sustainability program targeted at airports under the EU Green Deal. The first one is Tulips project led by Schiphol Airport. The second one, Stargate, led by Brussels Airport. And the third one, Olga, led by Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. And altogether, the intention behind this project is to catalyze the transition to green airports and leveraging technological innovation and cross-sector collaboration. And by funding these initiatives, the Commission aims to establish benchmarks and best practices that can be replicated across the European Union to meet the broader climate goals and enhance sustainability in aviation. Then let's take a look at what we've been doing at Technical for Tulips project. So the overreaching objective of Tulips is to achieve the zero waste and zero airport emission in year 2030, and therefore to further facilitate the net zero aviation emission in 2050. In Tulips, we got 17 demonstrations across the 7 work packages. And based on the property of demonstrations, they can be classified as perspective demonstration and effective demonstration. Perspective demonstration means the demo is conceptually based and without a tangible results to demonstrate its success. For example, some demonstrations under work package 1 is aiming at providing a shift in terms of passengers' transport behavior. So these demos are prospective demo. On the other hand, we also have effective demo, which means the demo has a tangible results. For example, in work package 5, we got the demo related to SAF supply. And on the other hand, we also have 5 work packages in terms of collaboration and assessment from work package 8 to 12. In Technical Lisboa, we are involved with work package 8, 9, and 10. And currently, our major work is on work package 8, performance monitoring and economic data collection and analysis. Our goal within this small work package is to assess how and where does a demo impact in an airport. Then to do a brief recap of the first section, despite differences in approach and scale, the United States, China, and Europe demonstrate a shared commitment to sustainability in airport operations. And this commitment is reflected through innovative policies and projects aimed at reducing environmental impacts and enhancing efficiency. As can be seen by the actions from the 3 regions, especially in Europe in Tulips context. Airports are prominent stages that showcase sustainability initiatives to a broader audience. Then this may lead to ask, given these ambitious sustainability initiatives, what is the actual situation on the ground? How closely does the industrial reality align with these high-level objectives? To answer this research question, let's move to part 2, industrial reality, where I will answer this question by using the paper entitled How Do Airports Align with Sustainability? An Analysis of the World's 150 Busiest Airports. So to start up, I want to highlight 3 milestones on the concept of sustainable development. The first milestone was from the year 1987's Brundtland Report. In this report, the definition of sustainable development was firstly being defined in a very general form. It defines sustainable development as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And it's so far the most widely cited, accepted definition, both in academia and also in industry, and has been paraphrased for use in alternative domains. And the second milestone is the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, launched on year 2000. In this case, the definition sustainable development was concretized into an easily understandable set of 8 goals for the year 2015. And the last milestone is the Sustainable Development Goals, aka SDGs, which was launched on year 2015. The 17 goals, accompanied by hundreds of targets and indicators, further increase the monitoring, evaluation, and impact of accountability towards evaluation. This also brings an opportunity in academia, as in the literature review, we found scholars are tending to use SDGs as an entry point to assess how does one or multiple industries align with sustainability. And such efforts have been witnessed in industries including oil and gas industry, banking industry, agriculture industry, and also our neighbor airline industry. But there is no global analysis have been carried out in airports so far. So what I'm doing in this paper is to select the world's 150 busiest airports and to answer firstly, to what extent are the individual airports currently aligned with SDGs? And secondly, out of the 17 SDGs, which are favored to be integrated by airports and which are not? And lastly, what factors can affect the alignment level of airports with SDGs? And go back to the number of our sample size, we select 150 airports here is to achieve a balance between the large sample size and also the availability and transparency of data sources. So in the end, 150 is the maximum feasible sample in our study. In order to answer the third research question, what factors can affect the alignment level of airports with SDGs? I'm using the lens of institutional theory and legitimacy theory. Institutional theory focuses on how institutional norms and values shape organizational practice, emphasize the role of regulatory, normative, and cognitive pressures in aligning with sustainability standards, including the SDGs. While on the other hand, the legitimacy theory centers on how organizations gain, maintain, and sustain and restore legitimacy with stakeholders. And it highlights the importance of aligning with SDG to enhance public image and stakeholders' trust. Based on this, I developed a set of 4 hypotheses. So firstly, I hypothesize airports with higher passenger and cargo throughput are more likely to align with SDG. And secondly, for airports operated within a group are more likely to align with SDG than those not operated within a group. And thirdly, in terms of geographical location, for European airports, they are more likely to align with SDG than those non-European airports. And lastly, if an airport's host country is achieving a better score in its national SDG progress, then the airport itself is more likely to align with SDG. And the data extraction process in this paper is involved by 2 steps, scanning on disclosures and classification. In this paper, the airport's sustainability report, annual report, CSR, ESG website, and other forms of official disclosures are all considered as information sources. And the classification of the level of alignment is based on 2 criteria, action and matrix, because in this paper we recognize a holistic integration with SDG should not only involve a series of dedicated actions, but more importantly is to have corresponding matrix to track, to monitor, and to evaluate their sustainability progress. In light of this, if an airport has clear defined actions, and well-structured matrix, then the airport is considered as high alignment, scored 3. If the airport has only clear defined actions but without matrix to track the progress of the actions, the airport will be considered as medium alignment, scored as 2. If the word SDG is only generally mentioned by the disclosures, then the airport is classified as low alignment, scored 1, and otherwise no alignment. Here to make this classification criteria more tangible, I'm providing 2 examples. The first example is the Hong Kong International Airport. We can see in its sustainability report, the Hong Kong Airport highlighted like 5 SDGs that they're aligned with, and more specifically, they have clear illustrations on the actions towards each SDGs. Here I'm providing the example regarding SDG 11, and on the other hand, they have clear matrix to track the progress of those SDGs. So in the case of Hong Kong, it was classified as high alignment. The second case is Stockholm Airport. We can see for Stockholm, it has clear actions towards 4 SDGs that they're aligned with, but there is no indicator to track the progress. In the case of Stockholm, it was classified as medium alignment. And due to the variable type of the predictor and dependent variable, we are using the ordinal logistic regression to do the hypothesis testing. And some results. Firstly, we found among the 150 busiest airports around the world, the alignment level found is 42%. More specifically, 23 as high alignment, which means they have clear actions and matrix to track the progress of their actions. And 17% as medium alignment, which means they only have actions but without a matrix to track the progress of their actions. And 2% as low alignment, which means they only refer to the terms SDG in a very general manner. And among the airports aligned with SDGs, I further did a deeper analysis on what SDGs being aligned by the airports individually. And based on the tendency of engagement, I classified the 17 SDGs into 4 tiers. But due to the time limit, I won't go through all of them, but there is a significant consensus reached regarding SDG 13, climate action, SDG 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, and SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, with over 19% of airports choose these 3 SDGs for alignment. And the third type of results is regarding the determinants of SDG alignment. But before going to the results of the logistic regression, I want to first share with you a correlation matrix of the variables in hypothesis testing. If we observe this correlation matrix, we can find 2 significant correlations. The first one is between the air passenger throughput and the annual cargo volume, which means airports with higher passenger numbers typically handle more cargo. And this observation aligns with our expectation and previous findings, reflecting the intertwined nature of passenger and cargo traffic in airport operations. And the second high correlation is observed between being located in Europe and the airport host countries' SDG progress score. And this underscores the tendency of European airports to be situated in countries with advanced SDG achievements. This correlation is also anticipated, considering Europe's proactive stance on sustainable development and its integration into policy framework. And then move to the results of the hypothesis testing, we can find 2 significant predictors in this regression analysis. The first one is passenger traffic volume, and the second one is geographical location. And this leads us to get 2 valid hypotheses, which means airports with higher passenger throughputs are more likely to align with SDGs, and European airports are more likely to align with SDGs than those non-European airports. And this graphic here gives a further illustration on the airport's SDG alignment level across different geographical locations. We can see the alignment level for Europe is 71%, which is significantly higher than Asia, which is 35%, and for North America is 24%. And if we compare the results from the hypothesis testing with the correlation analysis, we can obtain two pair of interesting insights. The first insight is that although the cargo volume and passenger throughput are highly correlated, but only the passenger throughput is found to be a significant predictor in determining the airport's SDG alignment level. And it suggests that the dynamics and requirements of passenger throughput due to the direct involvement of consumers or we say passengers, regulatory standards, and public scrutiny may drive airports to adopt more sustainable practices or innovations that align with SDG. And the second insight is that although the airport's national SDG progress score and the geographical location of being located in Europe or not are highly correlated, but only the geographical location is found to be a significant predictor. And this underscores the direct regional context of being in Europe with its specific sustainability mandates and societal demands play a more decisive role in shaping airports' alignment with SDGs than the broader national achievements in sustainable development. So in the end, I want to draw three major conclusions. The first one is that the overall alignment level of the world's busiest airports is slightly below the average compared with the fundings from other industries. Here, I also bring the figure for airline, which is 29%, oil and gas industry, 62%, banking industry, 50%, and feast 100 companies, 67%. We can see both the airport and airline sectors fall below the global average in SDG alignment. The second conclusion is that the fact that 23% of airports are recognized as highly engaged, which means they have clear actions and metrics to track their actions. This underscores a pivotal but challenging transition with the global airport industry, which means not only to assign actions, but also to have metrics to track the progress of your actions. The third conclusion is that the analysis also revealed that passenger traffic volume and geographical location significantly influence airports' SDG alignment level, with airports in Europe and those with higher passenger traffic throughput are more likely to align with SDG. So in the end, we draw three conclusions and policy practice to the three entities that are important in this process. The first is to airports. What they can do is to establish a unified reporting framework and to enhance the integrity of SDG strategy, which means not only to have action, but also have metrics to track your actions. The second one is to the governmental bodies. What they can do is to enact tailored sustainability regulations and implement monitoring system. The last one is about the international organizations. As the nature of air transportation is on a global scale, so the international organization has a great role to play in enhancing airport sustainability alignment. What they can do is to elevate global sustainability standards and develop certification program to monitor and to track and to evaluate the sustainability progress. So to do a short recap of this subsection, the funding from the global 150 airports underscores the need for developing tailored evaluation methodologies and in the end to assess and enhance the effectiveness of sustainability. And then what I did in the next chapter is to move from the industry to academia to explore the established and emerging methodologies used to evaluate airport sustainability. So for the first part of part 3, I will share with you a research paper entitled Expanding Horizons, a review of sustainability evaluation methodologies within airport and beyond. So in the scope of this presentation, I will address the last two research questions: through which approaches is airport sustainability assessed, and which limitations are inherent in current methodologies. The principle I used in this review paper is based on looking inside the box and thinking outside the box. Looking inside the box means within airport sector, I'm doing a systematic literature review. And thinking outside the box means beyond airport sector, I'm doing a meta review. In this case, it enables a comparative discussion to see what findings are identical and non-identical within and beyond airport sector. And the process is followed by a classic review process, starting from identification of papers by using databases, including Scopus and Web of Science, and then to filtering the paper. And in the end, we include 33 research papers within airport sector and 7 review papers beyond airport sector. Here is a timeline of publications within airport sector. There are 2 important scholars that I want to highlight in this timeline. The first one is UPIM, who was the first one to use indicators to quantify airport sustainability. And in his paper published on 2001, entitled Selecting Indicators for a Decision Support Tool for Airport Sustainability, he proposed 9 indicators, and 4 years after, he adapted the land take and biodiversity into the framework. So the framework consists 10 indicators now. And the second scholar I want to highlight is Janik, who is the one established the theoretical basis via the identification of effect, benefits, and impact externalities associated with airport activities. And he also was the one who extended the dimension of sustainability into 4, including environmental, economic, operational, and social. And this ENOF framework is still widely used until today. If we observe the timeline, we can also see a sharp contrast regarding the volume of publications before and after 2016. It was only after 2018 that the evaluation methodology has the faculty being supported by practical examples. I think this might be because of the launch of SDGs on the year 2015, which then led to a boom in terms of airport sustainability evaluation papers. And further, I did a taxonomy on the assessment methodologies. So all assessment methodology within airport sector can be categorized into these 3 criteria. The first one is data environment analysis and its extensions. The second one is hybrid multi-criteria decision making. And the last one is composite index-based assessment. And each of the 3 methodology has its pros and cons. For the first one, the data environment analysis, its limitation lies on the omission of feedback loops and understand the causal relationships within the system. Well, for the hybrid multi-criteria decision-making, the limitation lies on the nature of the methodology itself, as it's primarily a decision-making facilitating tool rather than a modeling tool. So it's predominantly cross-sectional, offering a snapshot rather than an evolving picture. Therefore, it's limited in capture the full dynamics of sustainability. And the last tab, composite index-based assessment. It efficiently aggregates diverse indicators into a single measure and cover a holistic view of sustainability. But the indicators can be subjective if are not seriously chosen, and also may overlook the validity and the correlations among indicators. And if we compare the studies beyond the airport sector, we can find these 3 pair of identical findings. The first one is that most sustainability evaluation papers, they tend to devise their own approach and criteria compared with using an existing one. This indicates the lack of universally adaptable framework. The second one is that most sustainability evaluation studies, they emphasize on the assessment aspect and often neglecting the fundamental concept of sustainability accounting. And the third one is the 3 types of sustainability evaluation methodologies identified by airports are also widely used by other industries as well. And we can also get 3 non-analytical findings. This includes 1 novel insight and 2 consensus. The first novel insight is that certain scholars beyond airport sector, they're arguing that the traditional understanding of airport sustainability, which typically segments sustainability into 3 or 4 separate dimensions, is losing ground. This is because the interdependency and interconnectivity among dimensions. And then a consensus was reached regarding no single approach suffices for all contexts. Therefore, scholars are tending to encourage the use for a combination of methodologies in sustainability evaluation. Lastly, and most importantly, is the identified system thinking would be the future direction for sustainability evaluation. So to highlight, this review paper highlight a shift in terms of sustainability evaluation to sustainability modeling, and it suggests a shift from a 2-dimensional evaluation, which is a static integration of sustainability indicators, to a 3-dimensional sustainability modeling, which can be considered as a better grasp of the complex interactions and feedback loops within the sustainability system, and also is the pathway for addressing the challenges of trade-off and compensatory issues that are inherent in current evaluation methodologies. And lastly, about policy aspects. As researchers, through drawing and mapping the system and mapping the interlinkage among the system, when policymakers want to implement a policy, we can able to identify where and how does a policy impact in a sustainability system, therefore to achieve a decision-making facilitating purpose. As I mentioned, 3-dimensional modeling would be the future direction, but we need to have a solid base in terms of 2-dimensional evaluation, which suggests a gathering of holistic viewpoint on the issue of sustainability. So in the second part of, under part 3, I will show you a paper entitled Developing an Airport Sustainability Evaluation Index through Composite Indicator Approach, because it's a very methodological paper, but I don't want to make this afternoon heavy, so I will only share about some broad ideas regarding this paper. So what I did in this paper is to construct an airport sustainability evaluation index through the methodology, which is composite indicator approach. And the composite indicator was built by a classic format, starting from data normalization to data weighting and data aggregation. In each of the 3 processes, I'm using 2 different methodologies. So 2 times 2 times 2. In the end, I used a combination of 8 methodologies to build the composite indicator and perform a series of sensitivity and reliability analysis to test the effectiveness of different composite indicator building scheme, and in the end, I identified the optimum building scheme for composite indicator. And the basis for sustainability accounting is based on the ENOS framework, including the social responsibility, economic feasibility, operational, and environmental. So under each dimension, I further use 3 criteria to guide the selection of 7 indicators. So in the end, I use a total 28 indicators across 4 sustainability dimensions to build the composite indicator. And here is an application of the index system to Schiphol Airport. We can see through building this composite indicator, we are able to visualize the sustainability performance of an airport and also multiple airports across a time series and also across different sustainability dimensions. But as I mentioned before, two-dimensional is not enough, and further enhancements need to be done in terms of the existing framework. So now I observe 3 levels of enhancement. The first level lies on the macro level, as airports do not exist in isolation and cannot achieve sustainability just by itself. So we need to enlarge the scope of our consideration from the narrowly defined scope of airport itself to a border region in where the airport is located. The second level of enhancements lies on the index level, which means to reduce the subjectivity in the evaluation process. This can be achieved by incorporating participatory methods to retrieve the opinions from stakeholders and experts. The third level is on the micro level, which means to consider the interdependency and interconnectivity among criteria and indicators. So up to now, I would say system dynamics modeling would be a promising tool to address these 3 levels of enhancement, especially on the macro and micro level. But there are certain difficulties attached to the system dynamics modeling. I think the major difficulty is cooperation. The first cooperation is between academia and industry, which means between airports and research institutions. And the second cooperation is the cooperation among the different airports departments. For example, the airport sustainability is a multi-dimensional issue. It needs to gather the data and resources across different departments, like financial department, sustainability department, operational department, and environmental department. So these are the 2 major difficulties regarding cooperation. And then I want to make some concluding remarks, as it's the first time for me to join and present in this session. So I want to share with you some of my personal remarks on airport sustainability and lead us to some discussion maybe later. So first, I want to address is the role of airports in sustainability. I remember last year when I was giving a webinar at IROPS, Dr. Vashko, my discussant at that time, asked me a question as, what do you think of the role for airports in sustainability? At that time, my answer is, I think airports is the intermediate to achieve sustainability, because all the conceptual and technological demonstrations are needed to be performed in the airports. So I think airports is the intermediate. But afterwards, I keep refresh my answer again. And in this presentation, I want to share with you my latest answer. It's the dual role of airports in sustainability. The first role is airport's internal role, which means to consider airport as a standalone entity. The sustainability role for airports as a standalone entity is to transform into a sustainable terminal, or we say sustainable building. Some actions can be done, for example, to use renewable materials in construction and enhance energy efficiency and adopt circular economy. But I think the external role is more important for airports in terms of sustainability, which is because of the systematic influence of airports. The external role is as a catalyst for sustainable aviation. As I mentioned in the beginning, the actions from United States, European Union, and China, airports are stages to demonstrate and propagate sustainable technologies and concepts. And there are perfect showcase stage to the innovative solutions to a broader audience and influence sustainable global standards. I think certain responsibility attached to the external role is for airports to monitor and to assess the sustainability performance for both airports and technological providers. The reason for us to monitor, to assess, is not to assign blame or criticism, but to enhance our understanding towards airport sustainability and make improvements in the future. The second issue I want to highlight is the hierarchical needs of airport sustainability. But first, I put a figure of Maslow's hierarchical needs. I think all of us have been learned this at our middle school, and it tells us for like a people, a human being, we need to first meet our physiological needs, and then we go for higher level needs like safety, love and belonging, esteem, and ultimately self-actualization. But I'm not putting this graphic here to let you think about which tier you are currently situated at, but I want to highlight the philosophy behind this graphic, which is establishing a solid base at lower levels is crucial before advancing to higher levels. I think this philosophy applies to airport as well. So here I made a hierarchy of airport sustainability needs. It starts from the operational, the bottom layer, the operational stability, which serves as a foundation, ensure that airports can maintain safety and efficient daily function as a basis for other efforts, and then move to a higher level, economic viability, which is crucial for airports to sustain long-term operation and funding further projects related to sustainability and balance the cost with revenue enhancement. And after an airport can meet its economic and operational objective, then at that time, the airport can really have the resources and money to chase for the environmental and social responsibility, and ultimately to achieve sustainability. So based on the airport sustainability hierarchy, I want to propose a question, which is it too early to talk about sustainability for most airports? So first, I want to bring you some data. According to the estimation from Airport Council International, there are now over 70% of the airports around the world are losing money, which means only around 30% of airports are making profit, which means achieve the second level in the hierarchy, economic viability. And also in the research sample I shared before, the world's top 150 busiest airports, they are representing the global's over 60% global traffic. But how many airports in total do we have in the world? Over 40,000 airports. So for major airports, as in the Tulips project, the Schiphol airports, like leader in traffic volume, are uniquely positioned to set global sustainability benchmarks. And also they exemplify best practice that align with SDG goal of leaving no one behind, guiding smaller airports towards sustainable development. However, for the majority of airports, for the 70% of airports that are losing money and are struggling in the bottom two layers, is it too early for them to talk about sustainability? So that's all for my presentation today, and I conclude it with a question. So thank you for listening, and I'm ready for questions and comments.
Thank you very much, Xibei, for this marathon. Please take a seat. So the floor is open now for questions and comments for Xibei. Was it too clear? No comments? No question?
In what concerns costs, we have these goals, these programs, and everything that implies investments and increase of costs. So my question is, who is going to pay in a long term of this process prices that certainly will increase, and if passengers and other customers have to pay more, is that a fair of the industry in terms of demand that can jeopardize the increase
For me, like at the moment, for example, in the European context for the Tulips project as an example, like the Tulips project is not financially sustainable if without the funding from the Commission. So at this time, like the actions around the world, like I said, United States, China, and European Union, the government are paying for these sustainability initiatives. But like in the future, like after the technology can achieve its scalability, at that time, I think it can achieve sustainability between consumers and also airport and also the government.
So you think that the final cost or the average cost in airports will be the same or lower than we have in nowadays? Because what I am questioning is everything that is related with the new sustainable fuel, new sustainable equipments for handling and so on and so on. Everything costs money. Eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Now we have funds and we have grants for that. But in the future, who will be who will pay the increase of cost of airports and
To add to this question, it's interesting because you said that there is a geographic component.
Yeah.
So European
Are more likely.
more sustainable, so they tend to adhere more to. No, that's okay. I think. Okay. So they tend to be more sustainable and they tend to adhere more to the initiatives, and hence they are going to have a higher cost. So it's interesting to see if this higher cost of sustainability is gonna have an impact in air traffic.
Yeah, but also I want like address one issue in the question you just mentioned. Here, like the figure for European Union, the European airports like are higher level in sustainability is because of their indeed like playing more efforts in sustainability, can also because the European airports, they are more likely to report and to demonstrate their progress to like the users and also to stakeholders, to gain like public trust and stakeholders trust. So because our this paper is based on like public data, based on the disclosures, there might be cases for Asian and North American airports, they align a lot with sustainability, but they do not disclose this information.
Yeah, I think there is another issue that we have to add to the complexity of this issue. Like in most new technologies, also everything that is related with sustainability, until it reaches a level of efficiency, it will of course increase costs. But from the moment that the levels of efficiency are reached, it might even be less costly than it is the current situation. But that is something that we don't really know, because it will not depend only on the airport. For example, take the example of energy. Energy can have different options like hydrogen, SAF, etc. And it will depend also on the networks that will be in the territories outside the airports, and this will have a very strong impact on the cost of the airport for providing these energies. If we expect that it will be the airport to invest for this energy, it will of course be tremendously expensive and not sustainable. So it has to be encompassed of a national strategy for all the issues related with sustainability. And of course, in the beginning, if we just have a part of the ground handling equipment with sustainable energy, it's going to be more expensive. But from the moment that we can scale up, then it might be efficient. And I think there is one issue that we didn't discuss yet fully, but it is in our sort of terms of reference of the project. That is the issue of scalability. That is, up to which point can we reflect this sustainability recommendations to all sorts of airports, from the smallest to the biggest. And this is we don't know yet the answer to this, but this is one of the elements that we will be studying on the 17 demonstrations of tulips. And that, of course, we will have to do several estimations in relation to this, but the scalability is something that it's not yet obvious that all the sustainability solutions will be feasible for all types of airports. And it is likely that the smallest airports will not be able to benefit from efficient solutions on the sustainability options.
We are in a transitional period. Yes. And what we are speaking about airports, the same situation is airlines and in other sectors. So we feel that we are now trying to enter in a transitional period, and in the future it will be like a professor said, that the profitability of technology will cover the difference of costs. Okay, thank you very much.
And also I want to add a remark. Is I used to see an interesting paper which described the relationship between technology and aviation. It described there are lots of technologies firstly being invented by the industry and then helped in social media and then gone for nothing. So I think the technological providers, they have a decisive role on how to innovate their technology and also to make it profitable, such as our cell phones. I think 20 years ago, not everyone can afford a cell phone, but now the cell phone achieve its scalability and profitable, so everyone can be accessible to the cell phone. And we don't really need to care about the price when buying a new cell phone. So I think that would be the role for technology providers.
One question that I could put is, you have a strong relation with geographical issue related to the airports. How you feel that in some way the operators, European operators outside Europe, could transfer some technology related to environmental sustainability in the new airports outside Europe, but as operator, external operator in those airports. For instance, taking in account some operators that operate in Europe transfer to Brazil. Well, it can transfer that kind of technology, knowledge, to provide a better airport, more sustainable airport.
I think knowledge is something that can be transferred easily within an airport group, but the technology is something different, as I mentioned, in the hierarchical needs of airport sustainability. For European airports, especially in my sample, they are financially viable, which means they are above the bottom two layers. They are at least achieving the third layer in terms of carrying the environmental and social responsibility. But for those airports, for example, the one you mentioned in Brazil could be regional airports where they may not be profitable at this moment. So for those airports that are struggling within the bottom two layers, I don't think they really need to achieve or pursue sustainability right now. I think it's really need a time for them to first achieve the economic viability and also to achieve operational efficiency, and then we further to start to care about environmental and social responsibility. But the hierarchical needs is only my personal view. Of course, others can give me rejections.
Xibei, I wonder if when you gather the data, if you notice in Europe, if the regional airports that serve the low-cost companies, if they are as transparent as to sustainability as the big airports, or if you did not notice.
I noticed this trend. I think it's not only in Europe, but it's like a common situation around the world. As for hub airports, they are more likely to disclose these informations compared with those regional airports. Yeah, it's again like for hub airports, they tend to publish the ESG and CSR report to demonstrate to passengers and also to other stakeholders to show their sustainability progress. Like I mentioned, the legitimacy theory and institutional theory. So these two theories can really explain why the hub airports or the bigger airports are more likely to align with sustainability.
So you had two, in fact, like you concluded that among those who disclose sustainability data, those who have a larger passenger throughput are aligned more with sustainability measures, but even more than that, these are the bigger airports because the smaller airports don't even disclose data that much.
Yeah, it's indeed the difficulty in our analysis. Like we want to gather a bigger sample as big as possible, but we need to take care of the data transparency and availability as well. So the public disclosures is the only thing for researchers we can find and get and to consolidate the data and draw the conclusion. Please.
Yes, so I just wanted to say that maybe, I mean, in my view, I think that maybe 20, I don't know how many, but I want to quantify just to give an example, but many smaller airports would be as much as one big airport. So maybe trying to find ways to incentivize the small airports to make these reports as well. So make it all based on policy making. So make the policy making incentivize these smaller airports to report their data as well, so that they're not left behind, because many small airports are going to be or make as much of a change as one big airport. I don't know if this is true or not, but maybe I just want to make sure. Would many small airports be as important as one big airport when building or when using renewable materials and etc.?
Yeah, so maybe I reply. Yeah, I want to mention when I was doing an internship in a Chinese consulting company in aviation, we gave the term gene to every corporate. I think it's the same for airports as well. For example, the Schiphol airports, the Paris Charles de Gaulle airport and Brussels airports, they are hub airports, not because they have a strong operator. It's a complex of issues. It's because the gene of the airports. It can be because of historical reasons, political reasons, and economic reasons, and technological reasons, lots of reasons put together to make the airport a hub airport. So the one you mentioned, to put smaller airport together, I don't think is feasible.
No, I don't think I made myself clear. What I wanted to say is,
I understood.
yeah,
I
okay,
understood.
so I think it was a bit of a language barrier. What I meant was, so when gathering the data, when we are adding the data of smaller airports, would 20 smaller airports make as much CO2, for example, as one big airport, one hub airport? So, yes.
Airports, they correspond to the global over 70% of the global traffic. So, but we have over 40,000 airports altogether. But so it's not possible.
Yeah, but even though it's not the same, for one reason, because in all cases of externalities, concentration has a majoration effect. And so having 20 airports spread in the territory will not, even if they arithmetically we can say, well, it's the same than having one big airport, it's not the same, because concentration counts, and concentration of externalities produces a majoration of effect. And so, and of course, when you have concentration, then you are majorating the externalities. So it is always more unsustainable, so to say, to have a concentration than to have spread. And of course, the issue is more complex than this, as Xibei is saying, because the reason why hubs exist is more complex than only the fact of sustainability. There are several reasons why companies gather in a hub airport, and which is not only related with sustainability, or it is not at all related with sustainability, but related with their interests in terms of profit-making, economies of aggregation that result from the utilization of an hub, etc.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Victor.
Thank you. Just a small question on this hierarchy of airport sustainability. I understand the attractiveness of thinking of going from lower levels to higher levels, but the question is, if communities, laws become more challenging regarding sustainability, whether airports that are not yet operational stable can wait to be operational stable or viable to then address the question of sustainability, whether at some point you will not have to find a way of balancing all the levels to do it at the same time. I don't know, as things are moving on, those that are not sustainable probably will never reach operational stability. They will be moved out of business through other pressures. And the question is whether they can afford to move from level to level.
I think, well, technology has also a role to play for those airports. Like in France, there are 40% of the airports that are not really being used. So what I was previously done in a French Horizon project, which we do is try to re-inspire those like closed or like airports. We are trying to use the 19-seater electric aircraft to re-inspire those airports to make them be active again. So I think for the one you mentioned, like haven't achieved operational stability, they need technology and also a brilliant leader, a brilliant operator to like cooperate with technology providers and in the end like achieve the successful fulfill of operational stability.
But the hierarchy is not going to be perfect.
I was thinking more or less the same, because for me, I think that even smaller airports can benefit from the experience of sustainability from the biggest ones. And so that way of put those characteristics, wishes, for me, I can't see it very well function like that. I don't know if I was clear. I think maybe if you put some circle, I don't know.
Yeah, like overlap.
One thing leads to another, and the bigger ones can give some inputs to the smaller ones and can put them move.
Absolutely, that's the reason why like I'm planning to do a system dynamics modeling in the future, but like for this graphic, it's only my personal remark, it's not research, so yeah.
Thank you.
Just a small question, because we have in airport revenue from operations and from marketing and sales. In your studies, what is the role of this second part? Because marketing and sales that is related with consumer and lots of development that we see. More than 50% of revenue now is in this sector or in this vector of marketing. Is there any difference in these studies of sustainability between operations and marketing and sales for consumer and other customers?
I don't think now they have like specific studies related to your
No, but sustainability, well, the non-aeronautical issue will always give room for more investment. And higher non-aeronautical revenues will have more investment capacity and better scalability to invest in sustainability, because they will generate more funds for reinvestment. But the issue is whether they reinvest or not. And there you need some hand of regulation to be sure that there is some reinvestment on sustainability. Because for the small airport, which does not have non-aeronautical revenues, it is very strong, the effort of investment in terms of sustainability, even because they lack scale to do it. But the big airports, they do have other alternatives.
Okay, thank you.
If like we put the airport's non-aeronautical revenue into the indicators in the 150 airports paper, we might find like the airport's non-aeronautical revenue is highly correlated to their passenger throughput. So it's the same thing we are talking about.
Yes, and that is also the question of sustainability and the image of each airport that will be more competitive in terms of the other hubs. So the image of the airports could be, it's a good mark to compete between the major hubs, and so the more important that is.
Like the institutional theory and legitimacy theory can really explain this phenomenon.
Conversations at Friday, maybe on another day. So we have to rethink about that. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.